Hey everybody, Michael here. Thank you so much for taking time to tune in to this week's Hotspot. Today I'm putting the hotspot on one of my favorite leaders. He's actually one of my clients. His name is Dave Dickinson. He's been a client now for probably a little bit, maybe close to a year and a half. And when Dave and I first started hanging out, he came to me because he's planning out his succession and his big dreams as far as what the future of his company was going to look like. He's the CEO and president of Bankers Compliance Consulting, and Dave has some practices that he puts into play that have been stretching for me as an executive coach, and it's impacted almost every single person that I interact with. So I wanted you to hear from Dave today because Dave is a brilliant leader. He's kind. He has high levels of vision for his organization, and he's an innovator at heart, but he loves his people. He loves his team, and I want you to catch that from him today. So please take a moment and welcome Dave Dickinson. Well, Dave, thank you for taking some time to hop on the hot spot for this week. You're one of the leaders that, executive coaching looks different for every single client that I work with. But one of the things that I love with working with you is that I get just as much out of this relationship as I hope I contribute as well. But there's some big key leadership takeaways that I feel like that are valuable for people to hear about. So I'd like you just to talk about. So the first one I'd like you to be able to tell just, what's your executive coaching story? What's your experience?
Oh, wow. So first off, my pleasure to be here. I already knew about you. I had seen you working with another client and observed that. And I'm looking at succession. I'm looking at passing the baton, and I knew that we needed help with that. And that was in the catalyst, in a sense, to call you. But when you first came into my life, in a sense, as a coach, I remember telling you, I don't have time for you. So I was busy, right? And I was too busy. In fact, one of the things you've helped me do is prioritize urgency versus important, and it's created more margin there. But I'll be honest, I didn't have time for you, but I knew that I couldn't continue to do what I was doing and get better. And so I asked you to be patient with me. And then I got to do these things on my phone, the apps on Friday and Monday, and all this burden and all, No, and you were like, no, it's cool. Do what you can. And you never really forced that. But I want to go back and tell you that the bottom line net income of our company over the last, 15 months or so we've been together, dramatically improved. And Michael, I mean, honestly, I don't know that I can draw a metric and say, because of this investment, this is the return, but it's true. We've made an investment into hiring you to be a coach, and there's been a much better bottom line. So I'll give you credit that whatever you're doing in your subtle ways, it's working. How's that?
That's
more than
a
raise. More than is the next thing. That's I just pitched it up there. Oh, by the way, you're going to get this email. My rates have just gone up for next quarter. So anyway.
It will now. As you know, like relationship and friendship is the true north of all my coaching relationships. And so you've been a phenomenal client. You've inspired me, and also you've become a great friend. And so I appreciate that more than you know. There's been a couple of big stickies that I've walked away with, though, that I've heard you talk about. And I thought, you're probably going to write a book about some of these concepts, and you should later on. But one of the things that is built around Bankers Compliance Consulting is this idea that a handshake is good enough. Drill down on that for me a little bit.
Well, there's really I could tell you some positive stories of that, and I can tell you some negative stories. Let me start with the negative ones. I've had contracts with people that were violated, ignored. You're going to go to court and try to enforce these contracts. And in fact, there's a long story I won't get into, but basically I had the right to sue somebody for hundreds of thousands of dollars one time. And they said, you'll win, but here's the consequences of doing that. And, what is a contract? To me, it's a piece of paper that is really just trying to legalize that we shook hands and said, we're going to do this. If you can't trust the people that you're doing business with, you shouldn't be doing business with them. And to me, that's employee team members, that's vendors, that's everybody. I once heard, I don't know if this is true, but I once heard Walt Disney said, one-page contracts, no more. Now, let me back out of that a little bit. I'm all about clarity. We need to be very clear. This is what we're going to do, and this is what we're getting paid, and these are the rules, if you will. That's all good. But if you're trying to protect yourself, why are you doing business with them?
Yeah.
So that to me is the bottom line to everything. So a handshake is good enough. Now, I work in banking. It's very common in banking that somebody will sign a loan, and then they pull out a guarantee that basically says, now you're really sure that what you're going to pay us back. Right? What
Right.
good is that? And that's really what a contract is in a sense. Now, again, if it's about clarity, absolutely. But we try to stick to one-page contracts. Unfortunately, the regulatory agencies of our clients don't always allow. They want certain things that have to be built into them. So we add them, but it's not about us. It's about checking a box for the regulatory agencies. Because on the end of every one of our contracts, we have this thing called the delight guarantee. And we'll back up the trust with this. If you're not absolutely delighted, you don't pay. So there's a trust there that I'm not going to have somebody take advantage of that. But they need to know that we're going to deliver, or they don't pay. I mean, that's so we're willing to be punished. Let me put it that way. We're willing to be punished for that principle of our company, that trust matters, that it's not satisfied either. It's delighted. That's a way different word to me. And so
that's awesome.
Well, the analogy I'll give there is I might go eat a Subway sandwich, not to say Subway, it might be at any kind of place, and I just fill my stomach and I'll be satisfied. I go to a fine steakhouse, I'm paying a premium. I want to be delighted, not just satisfied. And that's how we want it to be with our relationships with our team members, with our vendors, with our clients, and everybody. It should be delighted. We get choices, right? There's plenty of choices out there. You should never be stuck because of a contract.
You know, so really this guiding principle, and it should be a guiding principle for a lot of people, is that you just simply don't associate people with people that you don't trust. It's hard to have any type of, it's hard to have synergy. It's hard to have chemistry in relationships and in business when there's a lack of trust, when there's been violations there. But you actually do some things to be able to put catalysts of trust within the river of the dynamic of your team chemistry.
Sure.
One of the things I love that you do is this idea of the day with Dave. So as we kind of close out, I love this. I love this concept. And for the people that are watching and listening to this, I think if there's gold on this, I want them to hear about what this is and the motivation behind why you do the Day with Dave. So can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So Day with Dave. Okay. So what is trust how is trust formed? Is usually by spending time together. Because so Michael, you and I are contractual at first, and we're going to have this agreement, and you're going to deliver these things. I'm going to pay that much. And then we, like you said, there's a friendship that we want to have. That's something I know you value too. And so we spend time together. And when I spend time with you, I start to learn about what does it walk the mile in my moccasins, if you will, or walk a mile in my shoes. We've heard that story. And you learn empathy, and you learn about how the person ticks, and there can become in that then a friendship. But I'm also talking about trust. That means I need to spend time with my team members, and they need to be able to come to my house for dinner, right? And we're going to spend time together doing things, getting to know each other, that has an extremely exponential return, I think, if you wanted to try to quantify what that costs. So we do a thing called Day with Dave, all of my direct reports. But I've got a Jamie and a Jared and an Amy, and they have Day with Amy, Day with Jared, Day with Jamie. They're people on their teams. And yeah, I write the check for that, if you will, right? As the CEO, I'm investing in them to have these times. So twice a year, let me go off a little bit of tangent. Who loves an annual evaluation? Who looks forward to, oh, this is the day I get to meet with my boss and find out how I'm doing, right? And everybody dreads those. They hate those. So our winter time Day with Dave, Day with your team leader is, we're going to talk about your salary for next year. We're going to talk about goals for next year. And we're going to get together. But if there's something negative, we don't save those for those days. Those should have been talked about immediately. If there's a negative, we get on it right away. So these are positives, and how's life going? And we talk business in the wintertime one more. In the summertime one, we say basically go have fun. One of our team members just went go-kart riding, and they went to a lake and went swimming and skiing and all that kind of stuff. I've been fishing. I played golf. I played Frisbee golf. I sit on my dock and have a glass of wine and let's just talk life. That's what the summertime one's about. And yet we're also pulling out, how are those goals? How can I help you achieve those things that we talked about 6 months ago? So it's spending time together. I once had another business owner question me. He said, I think I was doing 7-day widths at that time, and that'd be 14 total days. And he said, I can't imagine wiping out 14 days on my calendar. How do you get any work done? And I said, they're the best days of the year, is those days where I get to meet with my team members. And Michael, it goes further than just knowing them. It's knowing their families. It's knowing what's going on in their life. It's knowing their dog's name, if you will, because people want to work somewhere, I think, that where those things are valued and that we love. And I'm going to say that word, love. We love our team members. We do that, and that forms by spending time together. So let me wrap up with this too. Think about it this way. You probably spend more time with the people that you work with than you do with your own physical family, sadly.
Yeah.
Why would you not want to love those people? Right? So we have a pretty hard vetting of just getting people into our company. We're very, very careful. I'm very, my culture is my number one thing to protect, is our culture. And so once you're in our family, we're going to treat you like family. And I say this all the time, we're doing life together. We're not just doing business, we're doing life together. And the day with is a key component of that.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Just kind of like a final thought on this as well, and just to encourage you, you're doing this rightly. As soon as we eliminate proximity from our relationships, those relationships immediately go from being transformational to being transactional. It's not about who you are, but it's what you can do for me. By inserting in that proximity element and prioritizing somebody's identity and who they truly really are, you're immediately amplifying high levels of EQ within your culture and valuing that handshake that can be good enough, because your clients aren't going to actually feel that if your team doesn't feel that internally either. So
perfect. Yeah.
Very well done, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much for
well.
making time for me today.